As of July 1st, 2020, the Virginia Fair Housing Law now prohibits discrimination based on a person's source of funds. Source of funds is any assistance, benefit, or subsidy administered by a governmental or non-governmental entity which provides funds for a person's housing. This change to the Virginia Fair Housing Law helps expand housing choice options for eligible households and therefore impacts the Housing Choice Voucher Program. However, the source of funds used must be approved by the landlord or property management agent within 15 days of the request for tenancy approval submission. Otherwise, the application for renting the unit may be denied. In order to support our agency partners with completing a timely approval, Virginia Housing released this video for landlords about the initial lease-up process. When homes are affordable and accessible to jobs, good schools, and transportation, everyone benefits. Individual lives are improved, and communities as a whole grow stronger. Virginia Housing is excited to share information with new, current, or returning landlords and property management companies about the Housing Choice Voucher or HCV program. This video will first review a recent change to the Virginia Fair Housing Law that impacts the HCV program and then go over important landlord information regarding the initial lease-up period. This content should not be considered legal advice, but is intended to provide you helpful information to navigate the program. First, let's review how your renters in Virginia are protected from bias and discrimination. On July 1, 2020, source of funds was added as a protected class under the Virginia Fair Housing Law. Source of funds is any type of income or monetary benefit from a governmental or non-governmental agency to supplement a person's housing expense. With these changes, it is now unlawful to discriminate or deny a tenant because of any source that lawfully provides funds to or on behalf of a renter, including any assistance, benefit, or subsidy program. This includes, but is not limited to, housing choice vouchers. This may also be referred to by some in the community as Section 8. Social Security Disability Income, or SSDI, Supplemental Security Income, or SSI, U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, VA Supportive Housing, or HUD-VASH, emergency rental assistance from nonprofit entities, and/or any other source. This means you cannot deny a potential tenant a rental unit if they intend to apply a housing choice voucher to their rent. However, you can deny the potential tenant the opportunity to rent for other reasons, ones that are not related to their voucher or income source, such as a negative reference from a prior landlord or poor credit history. Examples of source of funds discrimination includes, but is not limited to, you state you don't accept Section 8 vouchers in your rental listing, or your property management agent refuses to rent to an otherwise well-qualified tenant because they have a housing choice voucher. In addition to the Virginia Fair Housing Law, tenants and landlords have legal protections under the Virginia Residential Landlord and Tenant Act, or VRLTA. The VRLTA applies to most residential rental properties in Virginia. You can learn more about the VRLTA at the Virginia Department of Housing and Community Development, or DHCD, website. Now that you understand the legal protections afforded to renters under the Virginia Fair Housing Law and VRLTA, let's review your responsibilities during the initial lease-up process if the potential tenant has a housing choice voucher. Your potential tenants often represent the diversity of your local community. They may be individuals, families, people with disabilities, and/or senior citizens. So that these diverse potential tenants may find your available units, you're encouraged to list them on Virginia Housing Search. This is a free and easy-to-use service sponsored by Virginia Housing. You can learn more about listing your units at virginiahousingsearch.com. It's important to understand that voucher holders must search the private housing market using tools like Virginia Housing Search to locate an affordable unit. The Public Housing Authority, or PHA, who issued their voucher doesn't find the unit for them or assign them to a unit. There are a variety of reasons why landlords and property owners like you participate in the HCV program. These reasons include, but are not limited to, helping your community, receiving market rate rent for the unit, receiving a free home inspection for unit safety, and receiving a consistent and guaranteed rental payment from the PHA at the beginning of each month. In addition to your screening process, the PHA also conducts criminal background screening of Housing Choice Voucher participants. You reserve all landlord rights, such as establishing a screening process for your potential tenants, executing a lease, and collecting rent from your tenants. Neither Virginia Housing nor any other PHA will select tenants for your available units or manage their lease. Once a potential tenant with a voucher finds your listing and contacts you, they will likely ask if you accept vouchers. Remember that discriminating against potential tenants because of their source of funds is illegal in Virginia now. Opportunities to rent should be available to all potential tenants who meet your screening criteria, regardless of their voucher. Keep in mind that if you have 3 or less rental units in Virginia, you are exempt from accepting the potential tenant's Housing Choice Voucher. This is the only reason why you would be able to deny a tenant if they have a voucher. However, if you have 4 or more rental units in Virginia, then you are required to accept the Housing Choice Voucher as a form of payment for the rent. Also, it's a good idea for you to let all potential tenants know the screening criteria you will use, regardless of whether or not they ask if you will accept their voucher. Keep in mind, you are not required to accept every potential tenant who will pay with a voucher or other lawful source of income. However, you are required by the Virginia Fair Housing Law to screen potential tenants with a voucher like all other potential tenants who don't have a voucher. This includes, but is not limited to, looking at credit and rental history, sufficiency of funds, and adhering to a background check. Consistent screening of all potential tenants is critical. After you've processed the potential tenant's application and determined they meet all your screening criteria, you will let them know you agree to rent the unit to them and accept their voucher. At that point, they will give you the Request for Tenancy Approval, or RFTA, to complete. You must complete your portion and then, along with the potential tenant, sign the document. The completed and signed RFTA will be returned to the PHA by the potential tenant along with a copy of the blank lease, proof of ownership, W-2, proof of a Social Security number or SSN, or Employer Identification Number or EIN, a picture ID of the property owner, and direct deposit information. If you are concerned about protecting the confidentiality of these documents, you may provide them directly to the PHA instead of having the tenant return them with the RFTA. Next, the PHA has 15 calendar days to process the RFTA. If it's approved, the inspection will be scheduled. We'll talk more about the inspection shortly. During this time, they are verifying your ownership of the property, your bank and tax ID information, and that your lease complies with HUD regulations. The PHA will also verify and/or negotiate the contract rent amount to ensure it is affordable for the family. To do this, they conduct a rent reasonableness survey of surrounding and similar properties. While the potential tenant has rights and protections under the Virginia Fair Housing Law, you do too. Therefore, it's very important to know if the PHA does not process the RFTA within 15 calendar days, you are legally allowed to opt out of renting to the prospective tenant. Once the PHA determines the rent is reasonable, they will contact you to schedule a HUD Housing Quality Standards, or HQS, inspection. The lease-up process between you and the potential tenant cannot begin until the unit passes inspection. If the unit doesn't pass the HQS inspection, the PHA will advise you what items failed. You will then have the opportunity to complete repairs and schedule a reinspection. You are only entitled to one reinspection. The family may move into the unit on the same day the unit passes the inspection or another date you agree to, as long as it is within 30 calendar days of the past inspection date. By now, the PHA will have completed the rent calculation process. This determines the amount of the Housing Assistance Payment, or HAP, from the voucher and what the tenant's share of the rent will be. You must sign the HAP within 60 calendar days and return it to the PHA. Once the unit passes inspection, you may now consider the potential tenant as your official tenant and complete the lease signing with them. You will receive the HUD Tenancy Addendum from the PHA, and it must be attached to the completed lease. In addition, as of July 1, 2020, you must offer the Statement of Tenant Rights and Responsibilities to the tenant. You and the tenant must sign a form at the end acknowledging that the tenant has received the statement from you. The written rental agreement will be effective on the date that the form is signed by both parties. You must provide a copy of the signed Statement of Tenant Rights and Responsibilities and a copy of the written rental agreement within 1 month of the effective date of the rental agreement. You can learn more at DHCD's website. With the lease completed, your tenant is now able to begin residence in their new home. If your tenant has a voucher from Virginia Housing, you may use our HCV Landlord Portal to access information about your units currently under contract with voucher rental assistance. If your tenant's voucher is from another PHA, they may have their own system for providing information, or you may contact them to receive your HAP information. If you'd like to learn about recommended best practices during the initial lease-up period, be sure to watch our other videos, the Housing Choice Voucher Program Initial Lease-Up video series. To review information about the Virginia Fair Housing Law, VRLTA, and/or the Statement of Tenant Rights and Responsibilities, visit DHCD's website at dhcd.virginia.gov. You can also find general information about the HCV program at HUD's website, hud.gov. To learn more about Virginia Housing's HCV program, visit virginiahousing.com.